It was the same old story until it wasn't anymore. The Boston Celtics actually hold on. They keep their composure. They win a game that they were about to blow down the stretch. This is an important development that I will be talking about right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you so much for making this show part of your daily routine and your first listen every single day. I am here for you Monday through Friday. Locked On Celtics is free. I'm not charging you any money for this content. It's available everywhere. You can watch the show on YouTube. Every past episode is on LockedOnCeltics.com. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Boston Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, and I'm one of the media voters for the Boston Celtics 75th anniversary team. The Boston Celtics beat the Charlotte Hornets 113-107 at the Garden on Wednesday night, a game that they had a comfortable lead in with about 5 minutes to go, 11 points. And then they proceeded to blow it. Oh, that was scary. I'll get into that in just a second. In the second segment, I'll get into the individual performances. And then later on in the third segment, the standings are getting super, super interesting. There's a very interesting kind of march to the All-Star break where some very positive things can happen for the Celtics. But let's get to the big headline. The big story in this game to me was the last 5 minutes of the game, where the Celtics had a 102-91 lead. Jaylen Brown gave them an 11-point lead, less than 5 minutes to go. This was a point. Now, it was a game of runs, so to speak. There was a bunch of 10-0, 9-2, 10-1, 7-2, like those types of runs back and forth throughout the whole game. The Celtics' biggest lead was 12 in this game, and it felt like they had a bunch of turnovers, and it felt like that could have been, if they could have cleaned that up, it would have been a little bit of a different story. They gave up a lot of offensive rebounds, especially in the third quarter. If they had cleaned that up, it would have been a different story. But the Celtics back and forth with Charlotte. Charlotte's a decent team. They're a big offensive team. They're going to score. And the Celtics had it right around where I felt like they had an opportunity to close this game out. Again, 11-point lead. The Celtics had missed opportunities, and here comes Charlotte. It took a full minute where the Celtics missed a couple of shots. Rozier makes a layup. It's 102-93. Lonzo Ball hits a couple of free throws. It's 102-95. Boston missed 3 shots and turned it over once in that stretch. And I'm starting to think like, can't be happening again, right? Then Richardson hits a free throw. Rozier hits a 3. Richardson misses. Tatum turnover. Tatum foul. Tatum tech. And next thing you know, 3 free throws for Charlotte. Lonzo Ball drills them all. It's 103-101. And I'm just thinking like, wow. When Tatum got that tech, it really, really felt like this was the same old story. It really, really felt like Meltdown City all over again. And I was starting to think like, man, these guys, they sucked me in again. And I thought maybe this time it might be a little bit different. And here they are. They're doing the same old stuff. The turnovers, the missed shots, some really bad misses. And here comes Charlotte. All of a sudden, Charlotte can't miss from 3. Everything was a 3-pointer. So there's less than 2 minutes on the clock. It's a 10-1 Hornets run. And I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my God, I have got to write another story about how they collapsed down the stretch. This media session is going to be a mess. Who knows how this is going to go. Then all of a sudden, Jaylen Brown hits a shot. Not much, but he hits a shot. Okay, Celtics up 4. Charlotte still can't miss. It's a 3-pointer. Normally, this is where the Celtics come down and try to answer. How many times have I said on this podcast, don't try to answer. The Celtics always try to answer instead of running an offense and just calmly, let's just score. The Celtics always, so JB hits a shot. It's a 4-point game. Charlotte makes it a 1-point game. Where's the pull-up 3 going to come from? Is it going to be a Tatum sidestep? Is it going to be a Jaylen Brown pull-up? Is it going to be a Marcus Smart ill-advised one? Who's going to try the answer, and how are they going to screw this up? No. They ran offense. They did it. They actually ran offense. A pin down screen for Jayson Tatum. Smart's at the top of the key. Smart has the ball in his hands as the point guard. And they're running an action to get Tatum the ball on the move against a favorable matchup. They actually ran offense. Smart, so pin down for Tatum. Tatum comes up around. He does like a ghost screen which is basically, looks like he's going to set a screen, but then he goes right past him. So it's a ghost screen, and he's looking for the ball. But Smart says, wait a minute. They're not looking. They're too focused on Tatum. I see a lane of the basket. Boom, he goes. Foul. Charlotte's in the penalty. 2 free throws. Drills him. Charlotte comes again. Another 3-pointer. Can't miss these 3-pointers. Are they going to answer this time? No. Boston actually runs an offense that starts with the ball in Smart's hands. They run a pick and roll for Jayson with Jayson Tatum. Tatum gets the ball. He doesn't pull up from 3. He attacks. Gets into the middle of the lane, goes up, gets fouled, drills 2 free throws. So the Celtics are answering without trying to answer. They're actually running offense. I could cry right now. I could cry. I've been begging on this podcast for this to be the case. It's like, I feel like I'm watching my kid take his first steps. And I don't have a kid. I can only imagine this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing it. And then this is the opportunity for supreme athletes, the big time performers, to make the big time play. Charlotte comes out. They run another play for a 3-pointer. Robert Williams makes an amazing play to block the shot. Now the Celtics get the ball back. Now they're already up 2. Now it's the foul game because you're less than 30 seconds to go. It's the foul game. Celtics come down. They make their free throws and they hold on to win. Capped off by a nice dunk from Robert Williams, just to, icing on the cake. The Celtics actually kept their composure. They didn't panic in the face of a 3+ minute stretch of going without a field goal. They ran an offense and took advantage of a team in the penalty. I cannot believe that I'm saying all of this. They actually did it. This is a big development for the Celtics. Are they going to do it every time? I don't know. I can't say that they are. They just had the Atlanta game. So there is a very recent example of them kind of reverting to some of the worst of who they are. But at the same time, this is a major development that a team like this can actually hold off a decent team. Jayson Tatum didn't have a great game. Jaylen Brown didn't have a great game. But yet they hold off a decent team by doing the right things. Any bit of progress is good for these guys. They've now won 3 games in a row, 5 of their last 6, 7 of their last 10. I'll get into the standings thing later on, but all of the little bits and pieces that I've been begging for, that we've been going back and forth about, that the comments have been full of, this little bit is encouraging. Now do it again. and do it again after that, and do it again after that. But this was a game that they normally lose for sure, and they actually held on to win. Who was directly involved? Some incredible performances in this game, and like I said, some not so incredible, but I'll get into that next with the individual performances. First, let's talk about BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Football's getting down to the Super Bowl, right down to the big game in a couple of weeks. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live, real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of this new, amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Hey, as always, thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. I want to make you aware, in 1 week, this is the February 3rd show. Thursday, February 10th is the trade deadline. All sorts of rumors. I talked about some yesterday. All sorts of developments around the NBA. Thursday, February 10th at 3 o'clock is the trade deadline. At 2 o'clock, I will be joined on the Locked On NBA YouTube page live by Kim Becker, who hosts our Locked On Now show, Josh Lloyd, who is the fantasy basketball god, Antonio Daniels, former NBA veteran, and we're going to get you through the trade deadline with some up-to-the-minute analysis, in-depth local reactions to everything. You're not going to get this kind of coverage anywhere else. So subscribe to the Locked On NBA YouTube page and get those notifications. You'll set your notifications, and when we go live, you'll get notified and you can hop on. All right, let's run through quickly the box score. The Celtics were led by Josh Richardson, 23 points for him in this 113-107 win over the Charlotte Hornets. Marcus Smart, 22 points for him, 6 assists, and Jayson Tatum, 19 points, 9 assists. Let's start from the beginning. Marcus Smart was the first guy that I wanted to kind of mention because he was the entire offense for a long time. Like I said, 22 points, 7-11 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal, a block. In the second quarter, the Celtics came out strong, and in the second quarter, they, fumbling it away. And Marcus Smart had a real huge blocked shot. It was an amazing defensive play. And some of the most acrobatic finishes around the rim, just up and spinning and like unreal finishes for Marcus Smart at the rim. So huge game for him. Again, handling the ball down the stretch. We're seeing the best, the absolute best of Marcus Smart. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, I can't remember a stretch of Marcus Smart playing better basketball for the Celtics. He might have had some hotter shooting stretches, and he might have been, he's always been a tenacious defender, but Marcus has really put it all together lately and is flourishing over, since his return from COVID, absolutely flourishing. This one, he needed to score more, and he did that. But again, 7 of 11 shooting. It's not like he was chucking like 30 shots. It's not like he was going overboard. 7 of 11, limited shooting. He was just hot, and some key buckets. What else do you want to say? Like Mark, and then them putting the ball in his hand down the stretch. It's awesome. Robert Williams. I thought for sure Robert Williams was going to have a 5x5 game. That 5, this is a rare occurrence. It's definitely more rare than a triple double. 5 categories: points, assists, rebounds, steals, and blocks. And you could have, I don't know, there are other, what would the other categories be? But you could have like multiple categories there with the 5. So he had 10 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. So close to the 5x5. I thought he was going to get it, though. He was going early, but he was making a ton of great defensive plays. Obviously, that block shot at the end. A couple of times, he actually fumbled an alley-oop. Like there was a wide open alley-oop. I've never seen Rob drop the ball on a wide open alley-oop. He must have taken his eye off the ball or something. But other than that, Rob was fantastic in this game. It's becoming clear that Robert Williams is supremely important to this team and much, much more important than I think people even anticipated starting the season. And I think, just to put it in terms of the trade deadline, this isn't just like, hey, we don't want to part with Rob, but we'll do it if we have to. This is, we don't want to part with Rob. We'll do it if we have to, if he's the final piece to like a superstar joining the team. Like, I don't know, like if Karl Anthony Towns were suddenly available. Like at that point, that's the deal you make. But other than that, you don't just toss Robert Williams into a deal right now. Like that's not something that no. Rob is massively important to this team. The way he defends, especially when, now that he's, got that focus. I think back to that December stretch, the West Coast trip where he loses that focus. If he's focused and on point, this kid can be a real game changer for the Celtics. So if he's not on the floor, it's noticeable. The difference is noticeable. So, and Smart says, I actually told him, you look like me out there. You're going to beat me out for being one of the best defenders out there. So keep going. I'm proud of you. Rob is phenomenal. The athleticism he has to be able to guard 1 through 5 at his size is just tremendous. We need that from him. We need Rob every night to be that Rob. I can't say it any better. So I won't. Let's move on to the bench. Boston's bench outscored Charlotte's bench 41-19. That's all Josh Richardson and Grant Williams. Richardson in morning shoot around said, he was asked about his confidence. He says, my confidence is always at a 10. Like, I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know what I can do. And so I was like, damn, and then he comes into this game, 23 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 6 of 8 from 3. Early on, like the Celtics, when it was clear that Tatum and Brown didn't have everything kind of working, him coming in and hitting threes, like he started out the second quarter, just boom, boom, boom. First 3 buckets for the Celtics in the second quarter were Josh Richardson threes. Huge because Charlotte made their run in the second quarter and they needed everything from Richardson just to kind of stay even. I think one of the keys to this game is that the Celtics built leads, and when Charlotte made their runs, they were erasing leads, but they weren't taking leads of their own. And what's another thing that I've been saying on this podcast over and over and over again, the Celtics need to find a way to take these 9-1 runs, 10-2 runs, and stop them at that, rather than them becoming 18-2 or 22-2. Those are the killer runs, like the ones in Atlanta. Like those are the killer runs that the Celtics just can never survive. And that's what the Celtics did in this game. They blew leads or they gave up leads, but Richardson and Grant Williams, who started a little slow but hit half of his 3-pointers, he was 3 of 6 from 3. Same thing, hitting timely shots. Clutch shots happen at any point in the game. A shot that stops a run at 10-2 and triggers a 9-0 response is a clutch shot to me, because that triggers a turnaround that saves the game. Games are won and lost. This game, it was very obvious it came down to the wire, but games can be won and lost in the second quarter. You look at like the Minnesota-Denver game from Tuesday night is a great example, where Minnesota went on a gigantic 20-something, like 26-6 run or something in the second quarter when Nikola Jokic was on the bench, and they just never recovered. Minnesota ran away with it. That game was won in the second quarter. A clutch basket in that situation would have stopped that run and changed the entire dynamic of the game. The Celtics did that in this game. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown were, I said, kind of up and down. Like they were okay. But like the thing about Jaylen Brown is that, okay, he shot 7 of 15, so almost 50%. He looked out of sorts. 15 points, 6 assists, right? Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, 19 points, 9 assists. So they didn't have their whole bag in this one. But Jaylen down the stretch, huge, huge, huge. In fact, let me get a little bit more into Jaylen down the stretch when I come back, because this is another super, super important development in this game that I think we should put a pin in for future reference, because this could be something here. I'll do that after I talk about Rock Auto sponsoring this episode. And, there's a ton of cars out there now that all sorts of makes and models. There's no way that chain store in that strip mall can have every part for everything. You're going to walk in there and they're just going to give you whatever they have. So you don't want to waste your time telling that person behind the counter all the stuff that your car is. Just go to rockauto.com at home, sit at your computer, and enter that information in yourself, and you'll have an entire catalog. And you can save 30 to 50 to even 100% on the chain store or dealership prices, because Rock Auto just has the ability to sell direct to you, and it's going to save you a bunch of money, no matter how complicated, no matter how simple. Do you need brake parts, or do you need tail lamps, or do you need a new carpet or wipers? It's all there. So however you see yourself, I'm not a car guy. Pop the hood. I'm like, okay, that's an engine. That's all I know. But I can still go to rockauto.com to get the little essentials, but some people know more, and you can go to rockauto.com for all that complicated stuff. Go right now. I'm sure you're going to find what you need. I'm sure you're going to find it at a better price than you're going to find anywhere else. And when you do buy something, make sure you write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? That's how they know we sent you. It's the only way they know we sent you. So make sure you write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make Locked On Bets your second listen. Your boy Q, Lee Sterling, they've got some great advice. If you're going to lay some money down at Bet Online, they can help you out. If you take their advice, maybe you can win a few bucks based on what they tell you. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts. As I was saying before the break, Jaylen Brown, the thing that impressed me is that he didn't get bogged down in his mistakes. Dude had 7 turnovers in this game. This was a bad turnover game for him. Yeah, he shot well. He was a -4. It's the worst of the plus minus in this game. He didn't have a great game, but he still had the assist. He still hit that clutch bucket in the fourth quarter. He took a charge in that fourth quarter. He had a big offensive rebound and putback in that fourth quarter. The thing about Jaylen is that when he has bad performances, he has a real tendency to kind of glaze over, and all of a sudden there are backdoor cuts. All of a sudden there's, a clear lapse. The turnovers get worse and worse and worse, but he kept his composure and made plays down the stretch. That is a very important element to this game. I'm not so worried about Jayson Tatum. Tatum has this, he even said it the other day, he has this short memory. It doesn't seem to bother him so much, which I think bothers some people, but he's just like, okay, he doesn't want to shoot poorly. He doesn't want to miss 6 of the 7 3-pointers that he took. But even Tatum attacked down the stretch, wasn't trying to settle for 3-pointers. He attacked down the stretch. Important development for him too. These are important things, but the Jaylen Brown one is especially important, especially for a guy who's been talking a little bit more, getting a little bit more of that leadership out there. Guys on the team are talking about, yes, we want to draw more of that out of him. Well, in the crunch time in the fourth quarter, Jaylen puts aside a lot of the stuff that he earlier in that quarter missed a baseline jumper so badly. I mean, it was horribly missed, but didn't bother him. He just, kept on working, did the other little things. Like I said, the charge and the offensive rebound were big. That's an important development for the Celtics. if he can start to get past his mistakes more easily, then that's going to be a major step forward for Jaylen Brown. Little bits here, everybody. Little bits. You know, you watch this team and you get frustrated, but the fourth quarter, when it mattered in the last few minutes, instead of collapsing, they pull through. Jaylen Brown, instead of glazing over, he steps up and makes clutch plays. Jayson Tatum, instead of settling for jumpers like he has all season long, attacks the basket and gets to the free throw line to get points on the board and stop Charlotte's run, or at least answer Charlotte's run the right way. All of these things matter. And now, where does that put the Celtics? It puts the Celtics at 5.5 games out in a virtual tie with Toronto and a half game behind Charlotte. Charlotte's now in 7th. They're a half game behind them. And up next for Toronto, Cleveland. Tough team. Up next for Charlotte, Chicago. Tough team. Up next for Boston, Detroit. Don't screw this up, Boston. Don't screw this up. Chicago, the Toronto Raptors, here's their run towards the All-Star break. Chicago, Atlanta, at Charlotte, at OKC, at Houston, Denver, at New Orleans, and at Minnesota. So Chicago, Atlanta's tough. Charlotte is a tough team. Maybe not quite to that level. OKC and Houston, okay, I can see them winning those games. Denver's a tough team. New Orleans, I can give them a win there. Minnesota is on the win side, but still a toss-up. So you can, that's kind of a tough schedule. I don't think they're going to go on a big run. They can win some of those games. Maybe they split. Charlotte's run to the All-Star break. Cleveland, Miami, Toronto, Chicago, at Detroit, Memphis, at Minnesota, and Miami. That is tough. Charlotte could go on a little bit of a slide here. Cleveland's tough. Miami takes, a top seed. Toronto, they play each other. Chicago is a top seed. Memphis is very, very tough. Minnesota, just like I said, kind of, on the tougher side, not a gimme. Miami again. So that's there's one Detroit, one gimme in there. That's a tough road for Charlotte. Boston schedule: Detroit, Orlando, Brooklyn, all on the road. Those are the next 3 games. Denver, Atlanta, Philly, and Detroit. So 2 very winnable games. Brooklyn is in disarray right now. Maybe you're catching Brooklyn at the right time. They're in a tough spot, but obviously they're dangerous. Denver, Atlanta, those are 2 tough games. Philly, we can say that's a loss. Detroit, that could be a win. So you got 1, 2, 3 wins there. If the Celtics can get somewhere a 4th, maybe you win 2 of those games with the Brooklyn, Denver, Atlanta, Philly. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. Yeah, five more wins the rest of the way. That could be that could put the Celtics in the 7th seed going into the break. Pretty good spot for the Celtics, considering everything that they've gone through. Considering everything, here are the Celtics at 28-25 now, 3 games above 500. Again, winners of 7 of their last 10 games, 3-game winning streak. Not huge, but is also tied for the longest winning streak in the East with Toronto. Get them up to, and I haven't even looked at Brooklyn. Can Brooklyn drop a couple of games? Is it possible the Celtics could even sneak into the 6th seed going into the All-Star break? We could look at the Celtics heading into the All-Star break and say, oh, that's actually not so bad. It could be one of those situations where if you were to be on a 3-month kind of lost in the jungle somewhere, come back out and you go, oh, well, yeah, the Celtics are 34-27, whatever it is. Say, okay, they're the 6th seed, so a little lower than we thought, but actually, not so bad. Without knowing how the season went, they're in a good spot. They have the ability to put themselves in a good spot. Look, their point differential puts them at third in the East. Their net rating puts them at third in the East, seventh in the NBA. There's a disparity between their actual performance and what the numbers show. This could just be the correction. The Celtics might actually be what the Celtics are, more than who they've been when they've been hurt and all of that stuff. Who knows? They could very easily also go and lose to Detroit, and we'll just lose our minds. They can go lose to Detroit and Orlando, and I would not be shocked. I would be very horribly disappointed, which we all know is worse. And then they'd be the same old Celtics. Or they could do what they need to do. Like I said at the top, same old story until it's not anymore. And you want to change the narrative? Change the endings of these games. And then the narrative changes with it. Tomorrow, we'll wrap up the week. I have something special planned for tomorrow involving a very big name from Celtics history. Hopefully, I'll be able to share that tomorrow. So stick around. Make sure you're subscribed. And subscribe to the show. Watch the show on YouTube. We crossed 3,700. So in the past couple of weeks, we've added like about 100 new subscribers a week. We'd love to add more. So make sure you're subscribed if you're new to the show. If you are a fan of the show, a regular watcher, a regular listener, tell your friends, tell everybody, share the podcast. Let them all know that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.